The youngest, 16-year-old Omar, was a bright and promising schoolboy filled with dreams of the future. Her other son, Ibrahim, a 10-year-old schoolboy, suffered injuries during the same devastating airstrike. He's now on a path of recovery, demonstrating incredible resilience. Her daughters, Islam, a dedicated mathematics teacher, shared her knowledge and inspired countless young minds. Fatima, a loving housewife, created a haven of love and warmth in her home, making every family gathering a special occasion. And Asma, who now lies in the hospital fighting for her life with severe burns from the same devastating airstrike. Her strength and resilience are a testament to the indomitable spirit of our family. Her dear daughter-in-law, Lamis, stood strong alongside her husband, Abdullah. Their three children, Muhammad, 10 years old, Musa, 6 years old, and Ibrahim, 2 years old, brought laughter and life into their home. Asma children, Muhammad, 10 years old, Bilal, 2.5 years old, and Abdullah, 1 year old, carried the light of youth and hope in their hearts. Fatima's children, Siba, 9 years old, Hala, 11 years old, and Hamza, 1.5 years old, were the embodiment of her love and care. We gather here today to mourn the loss of these extraordinary lives, to remember the love, the laughter, and the dreams that have been forever silenced by the horrors of war. This tragedy is a stark reminder of the consequences of violence on innocent civilians. We appreciate your presence here today and your support during this challenging period. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Khalil Alaga. I'm an academic and a consultant here in the UK. I don't know where to start. I was trying to write something because I wanted to make it more sophisticated. However, I'm an academic, so I'm used to writing, but I couldn't write. I just tried to register some names. Samar Alaga, 20 years old, with her baby, 4 months old. Abrar Alaga, 14 years old. Muhammad Alaga and his wife, and their 3 children. Mira, 12 years old. Riyam, 8 years old. And Adam, 9 months old. Lubna Alaga and her 4 children. And it goes on and on and on. And these names are only in the last 7 days. I lost more than 44 of my extended family. First, when I heard about the first killing, I was devastated. Then I said that's probably some sort of mistake because they were in the south of Gaza, in Khan Yunis, where they have been told it's safe. And all the displaced people from the north, from the city of Gaza, they're trying to take refuge in that place. The first family is gone. The second is gone. The third is gone. And I stopped counting. I couldn't count. I stopped watching the news. I am a journalist. I used to be a journalist. I am coming from a media background. But I did not bear to watch any news or hear any news about more victims. It wasn't only family. It was our friends, classmates, neighbors. Every day, not every day, every hour, I hear names that I knew. My memory started fading away. With those names, I stopped remembering them. I don't want to remember them because it hurts. It hurts a lot just to remember the names. The memories. When I watched friends, doctors, neighbors coming on the screen and saying who they have lost, it really hurts. I'm sitting down here in front of the screen, helpless, with everyone here in this room. And this is only just a few. The majority couldn't come here. Either because they are in great pain, they can't talk in front of the camera. I'm an academic. I'm a media person, but I barely can stand in front of these cameras. I reported in the past a lot about war in Gaza. I used to live in Gaza. I know Gaza. I know every single place in Gaza. I can't recognize Gaza today. I can't recognize nothing. All the places in summer, just 2 months ago, we visited Gaza for the first time in 10 years. And my daughters, they were so happy to see Gaza, to meet their cousins, their aunties, their uncles, extended family. A few days ago, one of my youngest daughter, actually, she was asking me, are we going to see my aunties again? Am I going to see my cousins again? Are they going to be there next summer if we go? I really couldn't answer that question. I'm an academic, a media person. However, I couldn't answer that little child. 11 years old child couldn't answer her question. And I'm wondering if anyone here in this room can help me answer her question. I would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Omar. And this is Omar as well. This is my cousin's son, Omar, who's 5 years old, who was killed in Gaza a week ago. So today, as my friend Khalil and my friends, Shamallah family, we are wordless. We cannot speak now. We have lost lots of family members. We stopped counting. So I will tell you now some names about my family. I will tell you a little bit about their stories. Then I will tell you about the people who are still in Gaza, my brothers. I will tell you about my grandmother who's in Gaza, still alive. So I'll tell you about this in a second. So I'll tell you about two family members, two entire families were wiped up. So the first one is father's family. She was 75 years old. She was the first female judge in Gaza. She was practical lawyer in Gaza. She worked tens of years. She was a judge. She was a retired judge. Her husband was Fahmi al-Najjar, was also a judge. He was 78 years old. and their sons, Muhammad Fihm al-Najjar, Firas al-Najjar. So this lovely family was living and sleeping in their house. And in seconds, Israel has bombed their house using the American weapons, the British weapons, the European weapons. They have used these Western weapons to kill my people. So now the taxpayers, the UK taxpayers, the UK universities, when they do labs and they check the weapons, check the arms to make it effective, the next stage is to go to Gaza and test these weapons in the humans of Gaza, in my people, in Fatma al-Mkhalalati, in the 75 years old Fatma al-Mkhalalati, in her husband Fahm al-Najjar, in their son Muhammad Fahm al-Najjar, Firas Fahm al-Najjar, and on Umar, the little Umar. They tried the Western weapons and to see how effective these weapons, and then they sell it to the dictators all over the world. So this is about the first family which's been wiped up. The grandfather, the grandmother, the two sons, and their children, the sons' children. The other family is Hiba Salim Ammar, who's my cousin, my mother's sister's daughter. She was killed with her husband, with her three kids who are under 5 years old, Huda, Kinda, and Jamil. They were killed with their in-laws, 25 people in that house. This is about the people, and we don't know who we are going to lose again. So I'll tell you a little bit about the ones who are still alive in Gaza. My grandmother, my mother's mother, is 90 years old. She's living in Gaza. She have moved South Gaza. Now 30 family members are living in one small apartment, one toilet. I asked them, how do you sleep? They said, some of us, they sleep in the road. Some of us, they sleep in the grass. Some of us, they sleep in the corridors. Some of us sleep on the beds. And they have one bathroom or toilet in the house. And they said, my grandmother, because she's old and she's scared, she need to go to toilet every 5 minutes. And there's lots of children in the house. I told them, what do you eat? What do you do? They said, when we go to the toilet, we flush the toilet once a day. Once a day, they flush the toilet because there is no water, no food, no electricity, no gas. I told them, how do you eat? They said, no one is allowed to have a shower. We don't eat meat. We don't eat fish. We don't have bread. I told them, how do you do the bread? They said, we try to make some fire outside the apartment and we cook the bread or cook the food. And it's very risky. If you fire a small fire in Gaza, you will be bombed by the Israelis. And I will tell you about my brother. My brother, his name is Dr. Ahmed Mukallalati. He's the only plastic surgeon in Gaza. He was working here. He was living here with his daughters, with his son. They were living here in London. My brother was working at St. Thomas's Hospital. He's the only and the first plastic surgeon. He traveled 6 months ago to Gaza to open the first plastic and reconstruction surgery department. He was connecting with his fellow friends here at St. Thomas Hospital. They were planning to have a plastic surgery department where they have online surgeries in Gaza. He was working with the universities in Gaza to educate the students. And he said, I have seen in Palestine, in Gaza, lots of doctors who will be the best doctors in the future. My brother was calling me yesterday because we lost the connection with him. He's in Gaza City, in the biggest hospital, Al-Shifa Hospital, which was bombed today. So my brother was telling me, we use the medical equipment without cleaning because there is no stuff. So the stuff either been killed or their family members have been killed or they went to southern Gaza to look after their family members. So he said, we used to have 12 doctors in the department, now we have 4. He said, we don't now clean or do hygiene for the medical equipment. So they do the operation without cleaning the medical equipment. And you can imagine. And the last thing he told me, we receive lots of patients. So the capacity of the hospital is 800 beds. They have 3,000 patients in there. He said, when we receive people who need ICU rooms, we only have very little capacity. So he said, we choose the ones with a high percentage to be alive and put them in the ICU. The rest, we put them in normal beds without oxygen or the heart equipment. And most likely these people who are not admitted to the ICU will be died. So now we are saying the world is looking at our massacres. The doctors there are not having electricity in the hospitals, no medical equipment. So the number of people killed is because of the Israeli bombs, because of the lack of equipment, medical supplies. We need to take action right now. It's not acceptable to see hundreds of thousands of people in the Western countries' streets. And we see the politicians all over the world are supporting Israel. Why no one has visited Gaza? Why? Are they human or not? So why no one have visited Gaza? Why we have seen the Western politicians are visiting Israel's? No one is speaking about Gaza. And then the British foreign minister is saying we call for the medical aid to come to Gaza. Is this the maximum the British government can do? Is this all these children is not enough? How many more children do we need to say? I think the number of children killed so far is 3,850 children. These ones are the ones in the hospitals. Under the bombed and demolished houses, there are hundreds and thousands of people who are not recognized yet. We need to take action. We need to stop war. This war is not Hamas-Israel war. This is a war on the Palestinian in Gaza. So the media is complicit with this occupation. The media is misleading the people in the UK. We need to take action. It's not acceptable to see this number of children. If we come tomorrow, we will find hundreds of more children died. And I don't know until when we will make action. Please, please, everyone, we need to take action. Everyone take action to protect our children. Thank you.
Hi, good evening all. Thank you for coming today. My name is Mubashir and I work as an engineer in a technology company. We always think about Gaza, about the place where it's always bombarded. I would like to talk about Gaza. I know the Gaza I remember. It's not a massive piece of land. It's 10 kilometers by 40 kilometers. But it's about the memories. It's about the family. It's the most generous people you would encounter. You will walk in any street in Gaza and you will be invited to breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You will find also very strong, and you think you would notice very resilient people. People with strong faith. And people, I think, still till this minute believe in humanity, at least what is remaining of humanity. I could talk about any of those kids in those pictures, and I was looking and wondering, looking at their smiles, what they have been thinking about when those pictures were taken. Maisa could have been my daughter. Ibrahim could have been my son. Look about the potential we lost. I'm also going to talk about Wael, my cousin, with the picture here in the corner, an iOS Apple developer who managed to finish a degree in Gaza. And even he developed an application, a special application to teach Arabic for kids. He managed to finish. Gaza, for those who don't know, had maybe 5 or 6 universities. 50% of kids, of the 2.2 million population, 5-6 universities. The highest percentage of education maybe across the world. What a wasted potential. But again, we're not only here to honor them. We're all family here because our blood is mixed together. All those families on the homeland of Palestine, in Palestine, in Gaza. But we're also here to talk about our families under the bombardment now. Those even without the access to that water bottle there in the corner. Those without even access to bread or even fuel or key supplies we take for granted here. Ironically, that brilliant engineer was killed earlier this week in a queue to buy bread. His brother is injured. His elderly parents are devastated. I'm also here to talk about my aunties, the elderly aunties who can't leave North Gaza, who don't have access to water or food. They don't have access to medication. I'm talking here about my uncle, who lost his house among the other 20 or 30,000 houses lost. He worked so hard, building his house brick by brick, civil servant. And believe it or not, he did actually believe in peace. I think there's much to talk. I won't add much to what my colleagues and my friends and my family members has added here. But what's happening now will not provide a long-term peace for anybody in the Middle East. The only thing which will give peace in the Middle East is justice to the Palestinians. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Masara Ibrahim. I'm international higher education consultant. And today I'm going to speak about my family's story. As everyone here, we have families in Gaza who's currently residing in relentless bombardment day and night, every minute and every second, and even as we speak right now. So just about 2 weeks ago, my wife and I woke up tired and exhausted after staying up most of the night, checking the sad news coming from Gaza. The worry for the safety of our families in Gaza had taken a toll on our mental and physical well-being. We sleep less. We eat less. The laughter and joy in our lives have disappeared, replaced by an overwhelming ocean of grief, sadness, and anxiety. I immediately reached to my phone to check if anything had happened during these few hours of sleep. My heart almost jumped out of my chest when I saw a large amount of message notifications popping up on my phone. I told myself something is odd. Something bad might have happened. Please God, not our families. I reluctantly opened the first message to find it was from a friend who was feeling sorry for me and my wife. And their entire family was praying for us. I opened the second, the third, the fourth, the rest. They were all about people having us in their thoughts and sending their condolences. My wife and I at that time, we knew that members of our beloved family, the people that we love the most in this world, have been murdered. With a fast beating heart, we went to social media to check which member of our families actually was murdered, as this is the only way we know. We found it flooding with horror images of innocent children, men and women killed in an overnight Israeli strike on a civilian neighborhood in southern Gaza, a place Israel had said was safe and instructed civilians to evacuate to. They bombed the buildings on heads of its residents while they were peacefully sleeping in their homes, killing tens of civilians, including my brother-in-law, Hamid, a kind-hearted family man and a promising businessman, and his beautiful 3 children, Kamal, 10 years old, Omar, 4 years old, and Rima, a baby, 1.5 years old, that we still haven't met. We managed to recognize them, even with their beautiful angelic faces stained with blood, dust, and sand. Words cannot describe the pain and sorrow my wife and I felt as we come across this devastating news and seeing the pictures on social media. Hamid and his children departed this world, leaving behind a wound that will never heal. memories that will never fade, and laughter that will forever echo in our hearts and minds. Our people are not just numbers. Each one has a name and a face, has a family they cherish and embrace, has a life full of hopes, dreams, and wishes to live in peace. All gone. Nothing remains but this utter cold silence, but this smell of death and bombs that fill Gaza from the south to the north. But these piles of rubble that once called home. Nothing remains but emptiness. No Daddy, no Kamal, no Omar, and no Rima. They have all gone. For those of you who are wondering what have become of Mommy, she's alone, she's severely injured. Please keep her in your prayers. Ladies and gentlemen, the genocide is still going as we speak. Every day we wake up to more devastating news, more bombing of civilian homes before the very eyes of this cruel world. More murdered children, more grieving families crying over and over the bodies of their dead, loved people, more pain and suffering. That's why it's important that we, the people, force our government and other Western governments to step in and end this carnage. It's time to protect the civilians and demand an immediate ceasefire. It's time that Western countries look into the Israeli occupation of Palestine without bias, without favoring Israel over the rights of our beloved people, without ignoring Israel's decades of violations of international and humanitarian laws. If it's not now, then when? Then when? Thank you.
Indeed, it's time. It's time to stop this. The main issue about the untold story about Gaza, and most of the reporters, mainstream media reported in Israeli side of the war, if we see, there is no one, there's no international reporters, like very little of them. So many, this is just a little bit of like example of the stories, untold stories. And we're just here to say that we are not just numbers, and our message to our people, our families in Gaza, is there are no words to express the shame that we feel about what is happening to you in Gaza, and shame on the world for allowing you to go through this nightmare. And the way to stop this nightmare is only to cease fire now. Thank you again for listening, and thank you for sharing these stories. And if you have any questions, guys, before we go to the press release, we can take maybe any questions to our guests here today. Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum. If you had a message now to the British government, what do you want them to do immediately to end this genocide that's taking place in Gaza?
So thanks for the question. So this is a man-made crisis. It's not a natural crisis. Thanks for the question. So this is a man-made crisis. And to be honest, I think it could be sorted in a phone call, believe it or not, from one president to one prime minister. And I think what we are calling our British government, our prime minister, and both sides of the leading parties in the country, is to call for an immediate cease fire. This is what we could do as a nation. And of course, allow for the humanitarian aid to enter Gaza immediately. And third one, and I think we would like our families to come here to safety and take refuge in the UK, similar to other nations. And we also would like to bring our kids injured now, who are in immediate necessary need for treatment, to come to be treated here in the UK, at least part of them. And I think there are around 20,000 injured individuals, if not more, in the UK. So the key message to the government, ceasefire now.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Maher, a freelance journalist. I wanted to ask, what help can we here in London do, or the UK do, to help the medics that has also been a part of this genocide? They've been murdered. I think there's about 14 or 16, if I'm not mistaken. Is there any support from the UK or the West to support them and the journalist that has also been deliberately murdered? And is there also a plan to get the children, women, and the elderly out of Gaza if there is a pause, as they say, of this genocide? Do we have a plan for that?
I think the British government has to answer this. Well, thank you for your question. I think the British government has to answer this. They can actually force their, given the good relationship with Israel, they can actually force them to let proper medical aid to flow into Gaza. As basically, as we all know now, the hospitals are running out of fuels. Well, they run out of fuels. They've switched off the main generators, electric generators in different hospitals. Thousands of people would die actually as a result of this. So I think what's currently is happening in Gaza is because basically every single government is complicit. No one actually is caring about the people of Gaza, the civilians, the innocent people there, our families, our beloved people, and even the people in Gaza, the humans. They have this so-called shared humanity. But unfortunately, the media has been dehumanizing the Palestinians since the start of this events. And nothing has so far basically been done, just complete silence. Complete silence.
باللغة العربية أو بالإنجليزية؟ تمام، باللغة العربية. هل هنالك أي خطوات قضائية سوف تتخذ طبعا لمحاسبة مرتكبي هذه الجرائم الفظيعة؟ حقيقة ما نشهده الآن هو طبعا يعني فقط التغطية الإعلامية، وهو شيء مطلوب، ولكن بالمقابل أيضا لابد أن يكون هنالك تحرك على المستوى القضائي لمحاسبة مرتكبي هذه الجريمة. شكرا.
هناك لا شك بعض اللجان المرتبطة بهذا الشأن لجان حقوقية ولديها قوائم كاملة، والمعضلة الحقيقة أو الأساس أنه أمام جرائم حرب ترتكب علنا، يعني أنت لست بحاجة للكثير من الجهد حتى تجد هذه الجرائم الموثقة. لا شك أن هناك لجان حقوقية من الجالية العربية هنا في بريطانيا وفي أوروبا عموما لتقديم هذه الأدلة لمحكمة الجنايات الدولية وكافة الجهات الحقوقية المرتبطة بهذا الشأن. لكن الأهم الآن هو التركيز على وقف إطلاق النار ووقف هذه الاعتداءات، وبعد ذلك سيكون هناك متسع لهذه النقاط التي كما ذكرت هناك لجان باتت يعني مركزة كامل الجهود على تحقيق ما ذكرت.
السلام عليكم. بالنسبة تكمل السؤال بس إنه هل هذا حيكون فيه منه فائدة أو نتيجة؟ لأنه في جرائم كتير صارت، منها عندك جريمة صارت في هدى غالية على شاطئ البحر، وجريمة هاي كانت شنعاء في ظل لا كان في تصعيد ولا كان في أي إطلاق نار، يعني فجأة كانوا مطلقين على شاطئ البحر هدى غالية. لحتى الآن في كتير مجازر، لحتى الآن ما في أي نتيجة أو ما في أي رد أو ما سمعنا أنه في هناك محاكمات.
طبعا نحن كعائلات بريطانية من أصول فلسطينية أعتقد عندنا شانس كبير ليس لمحاكمة فقط مجرمي الحرب في دولة الاحتلال. نحن كفلسطينيين أو بريطانيين من أصول فلسطينية لا، عندنا مجرم حقيقي وهو ونوجه اتهام رسمي بدون أي مواراة لرئيس الحكومة البريطانية الذي يعطي غطاء والدعم العسكري لقتل المدنيين، وهو يتبع نفس السياسة الأمريكية التي تقول لا لوقف إطلاق النار، وهو يرى وكل الناس يروا القتل للعائلات وللضحايا، ومعظم الضحايا مدنيين كما ذكروا يعني الإخوة، يعني أكثر حوالي 4000 طفل يعني تم استهدافه. عندما يتحدث باسم الحكومة الإسرائيلية يتحدث عن استهداف 10,000 هدف في قطاع غزة. 10,000 هم 10,000 شخص، 10,000 فلسطيني، طفل، امرأة. إذا إحنا في إسرائيل بداية كقادة احتلال مجرمي حرب، لكن إسرائيل الآن تقف خارج المنظومة الدولية، لا يستطيع القانون الدولي، لأن هناك عشرات القضايا ضدهم حتى في هذه البلد، لا يستطيع حدا أن يحاكمهم. لكن نحن هنا عندنا فرصة حقيقية، لأن بريطانيا أنا أعتقد أنها شريكة، هي شريكة بالدعم العسكري، هي شريكة بالدعم الأمني، هي شريكة بالدعم السياسي، وهي إلى الآن ضد وقف إطلاق النار، سواء رئيس الوزراء أو وزيرة الداخلية أو حتى رئيس حزب العمال. فإذا هناك يعني قادة في هذه البلد بالنسبة لنا كفلسطين هم شركاء في هذه الجريمة. النقطة الأخرى بالنسبة للمساعدات واللي كثير ذكروها من الإخوة والأخوات، نحن مشكلتنا يعني في الطرف الثاني اللي هو الاحتلال، هناك خط إمداد عسكري ومالي وكل شيء له، كل الغرب يدعم هذا الاحتلال. في نفس الوقت غزة الصغيرة اللي 350 كيلومتر مغلقة، بلوكيد. طبعا هذا الإغلاق موجود ل 17 عام، ولكن لا يمكن أن تكون هناك مجزرة بهذا الشكل وقتل مستمر وقرابة شهر ولا تستطيع كل المنظومة الدولية أن تدخل قارورة أو لتر من السولار. يعني عندما يقف الأمين العام للأمم المتحدة على بوابة رفح ويدعو إلى وقف إطلاق النار وإدخال المساعدات ويفشل، وهذا رأس الشرعية، ماذا يمثل بالنسبة لنا؟ إذن هناك لا توجد شرعية، توجد شرعية قانون الغاب. الأمم المتحدة يصوت 120 دولة على وقف إطلاق النار. ماذا حدث؟ أمريكا وإسرائيل تتحدى العالم، بايدن يقول لا لوقف إطلاق النار، ووزير الخارجية اليوم من وسط اللبيب يقول لا لوقف إطلاق النار. إذن مزيد من القتل والتدمير. إذا نحن نعيش في مجتمعات يفترض أن تحترم القانون الدولي والقيم والعدالة، لكن للأسف كل هذا الآن كل هذا يكسر لعيون الصهاينة ولعيون دولة الاحتلال. شكرا.
Any other? Yeah, go on.
لو سمحتوا هلا طبعا دعواتنا لأهلنا بغزة وتضامننا طبعا من هون من لندن، بس كمان هلا مع اقتراب يعني موعد القمة العربية تكون بعد أيام، لازم يكون القادة العرب كمان إنه موقف من هذا الشيء اللي عم يحصل، من الإبادة الجماعية اللي عم تصير بغزة، خاصة الجانب المصري. يعني مو معقول معبر رفح يعني مسكر من أول الحرب ومش قادرين يعني لا يطلعوا جرحى، لا يفوتوا ماء، لا يفوتوا مساعدات. نريد يعني من العبر خلال هذا المؤتمر يعني توجيه رسالة للقادة العرب.
بالعربي انا حاحكي بالعربي. احنا الامل بالله عز وجل، ثم املنا باخواننا وقادتنا العرب في اكروس العالم العربي، اخواننا العرب والوايدر كوميونتي والمجتمع في بريطانيا and all the supporters وكل الذين صمدوا وكل المساندين من العالم كله نصر للقضية الفلسطينية، نصر لإخواننا في غزة. فإحنا أملنا بإخواننا العرب والقادة العرب والزعماء كبير، والوقت ما زال موجود. فغزة تناديكم وأنتم إخواننا الكبار، ونمد يدنا إليكم لنصرتنا. شكرا لكم. If we have time, I would like Firas to say something. And Firas has a unique perspective about Gaza. He was there a couple of years ago. Yeah, is it correct? Oh yeah,
Do you mind? Yeah. Do you have like a stool or something like small?
My name is Faraz Shamallah.
It's gonna be uncomfortable. Go on.
My name is Faraz Shamallah. I'm from Palestine. I'm here to tell you what's happening in Gaza. It's also sad how my cousin, Yazan, about 10 years old, died in the night when he was sleeping. He was explaining to me how his dreams were to travel around the world to see every beautiful wonders of the world and everything beautiful. I'm also here to tell you about, you don't have to be Muslim to support Palestine. You don't need to be from Lebanon, Iraq, Syria, Saudi Arabia, or any Arabic country to support Palestine. You just need to be a human and understand that what's happening is genocide. It's just sad to see people dying in Gaza, kids dying and everything, just losing. Everyone in Gaza dreams to have a wonderful and good life, not of misery and war. That's all I'm gonna say. Please think about what everyone has said here, especially me and my mum. And yeah.
Thank you very much for us. You know what breaks our heart actually more? When we hear the terms human animals being repeated again and again on the media, and it goes unchallenged. And it's really quite heartbreaking when we see it being broadcasted and challenged on our channels, when we are being treated as the others in the UK. We have all actually seen recently different interviews done by Israelis on our channels, and how actually they dehumanized our people and our beloved families. For us as cousin and the entire families been dehumanized, and it went unchallenged. And I have actually watched that interview done by an Israeli professor, I think, and he used actually the term human animals many times, and it went unchallenged. And this is absolutely outrageous and disgraceful. We are all equal in this country. We are all equal. Our people deserve to live in peace, to live in happiness, not in misery. We don't want to see people like, and kids like for us, suffer from the brutality of the Israeli regime and what they're doing now currently in Gaza. So I would like to thank you all for coming today. And to summarize, I'm going actually to read this press release on behalf of all the entire British Palestinian families. So if I may ask my fellow British Palestinian families to come closer together so we can read this statement, please, all together, and raise the pictures of our beloved people and let the world know, if we to bring the 4,000 children and the number of Palestinians who've been killed and their families and beloved ones, not this room, not this building, not this area will be enough to fill them. But today we came here to represent the entire of our families and beloved ones, of our people. So this is the press release. The British Palestinian families in the UK of the victims of the Israeli aggression on Gaza are outraged and horrified over Israel's appalling, inhumane, and brutal policy of wiping out entire families in Gaza. Since the start of this ongoing indiscriminate aggression on Gazan civilians, we have all witnessed the deliberate bombing of residential buildings, homes, schools, churches, mosques, and hospitals that are full of families with children. Most of them were forcibly displaced from their homes, searching for safety. Hundreds of British Palestinian families have been devastated by the loss of their loved ones in Gaza because of this brutality. Many of them have lost all their immediate family members, including parents, siblings, and their spouses and children. As we enter day 28 of this ongoing indiscriminate aggression on Gazan civilians, Israel murdered more than 9,000 Palestinian souls, including over 4,000 children, with thousands are still missing under the rubble of their bombed homes, leaving behind thousands of traumatized and grieving families with a wound that will never heal. Israel is deliberately starving more than 2 million human beings, children, women, and men in Gaza, with a continuous refusal to allow the most fundamental necessities, such as food, clean water, fuel, gas, and medical relief to enter Gaza, paralleled with an ongoing indiscriminate, relentless bombing of civilian sanctuaries, including homes, hospitals, schools, churches, mosques, bakeries, markets, and shopping malls, and civilian infrastructure, which has resulted in a horrific humanitarian and environmental crisis. These acts of brutal collective punishment committed by Israel against the civilians in Gaza is not only illegal, but also goes against all the principles and values of international human rights laws. And it is a war crime. It is a war crime. In these difficult times, we must actually all, on behalf of all the Palestinian families, thank the wider British society across our country for their outpour of support, empathy, and love. Your call for justice has reached out to our besieged families in Gaza, and we really hope it will reach our decision makers in our government. We implore all governments around the world, and in particular our government, to call for an immediate ceasefire, and allow urgent humanitarian aid to flow into Gaza immediately. We also asked to evacuate our families who are still stuck in Gaza to come to safety in the UK, and also transfer injured Palestinian children in need of urgent treatment to the UK hospitals. This bloodshed must stop now. Thank you very much. May I remind, or actually our colleagues from the media, please be kind and sensitive when you raise or ask questions to the grieving families. Thank you very much.